Hello and welcome, I'm High C, and this is the Katchup, where I try to catch up on Tokusatsu TV shows in a hopeless attempt to stay current. Taking a break from Build while I give Kaitou Sentai Lupinranger vs. Patranger a catch-up. Starting with episodes 1 through 10. As always, there might be spoilers, so please watch at your own caution. Thank you. Starting with my initial anticipation and letting my not-so-secret cat out of the bag, where I haven't watched all that many Sentai series to completion. And I'm not one who personally makes a lot of judgment calls based off the little bits of promotional materials we get prior to a show's full release. That said, I was really intrigued by a Cops and Robbers Sentai series. Just thinking about it, I could conjure up an image of a police force chasing after a Sentai thief force who are clever and always playing this like cat and mouse game of push and pull. Thieves ducking around a criminal organization who's sending monsters out while a police Sentai force pursues them. With both sides inevitably figuring out their misunderstanding and miscommunication and teaming up together to take out some kind of big bad. Now, I didn't expect anything like that going in, but I had just finished playing Persona 5 when Lupin vs. Pat came out. So I had this kind of armchair producer moment, and I had a lot of kind of cool ideas that I thought about with it. But let's just say that's not what we got. So the biggest question that was going around the YouTube and Twitter sphere when this show was in pre-release is, what side are you gonna take? The Thief Sentai Lupinranger or the Police Sentai Patranger? Now, while I thought this side thing was silly, hands down I chose Lupinranger because they got capes. Capes are dope. Mixed with my natural aversion to authority, I definitely think I chose Lupinranger just out of pure sense of them being thieves. But let's keep in mind, I didn't really put stock in either side. So at the end of the day, this is a Sentai series, and I'm rooting for both sides if they're both Sentai. Let's talk about the costumes. It's kind of cool to get two motifs that look kind of similar, but are also kind of opposites. Before the show aired, everybody was complaining about how stupid the cop hats and top hats were, while I was over here being quiet, secretly loving the design. And honestly, I think the costumes work really well for both sides. Obviously, I was won over by the Lupinrangers having awesome capes, but I really love the negative space that made up the Patranger's chest, making the tie. I thought they both really worked well to push home both of their motifs. The capes give the Lupinrangers the flow that goes with their thief motif, but the business tie really helps hammer home the seriousness of the police force, which is on the Patranger side. I was absolutely into their designs, even if I was the only one early on. So there you are, I'm sold on the motif. I really love the costumes, and there's a handful of episodes out there, and I'm ready to jump in and catch up on LuPat. And so if you're hoping to not have any of that plot spoiled, please turn away now. I don't want to ruin your impressions or color your perception of this show with my terrible impressions of the show. So spoilers ahead. If you think this will upset you, please stop watching now. All right, so I'm going to put this up front. I've only watched the first 10 episodes of the show, but I haven't been a fan. There's plenty of time for this show to evolve still and become an amazing show. And talking with Protodubs, he told me it gets better around episode 10, which is where I'm at now. And somewhere around episode 14, 15 is, quote, one of the best written Sentai episodes ever, so I have to at least give it to that point. But I went into LuPat really open-minded, and I just unfortunately got very disappointed. The main plot is there are ganglers, who are a criminal organization of monsters, and they are jockeying for position of who will be head of the organization once their big boss retires. And this could be a cool concept. While on the other side we have the Lupinrangers, I'm just going to say Lupin red, blue, and yellow to make it easy, and so I don't butcher their names yet. They've all had people who are important in their life frozen and killed, and are on a quest to get revenge or bring them back. I'm not entirely sure on what the hell their point is, but they are after the Lupin collection, which belonged to a big thief who had all of his cool Lupin toys stolen from the ganglers. The Lupin collection seems powerful enough and really works to drive home how the monsters are a threat and while they're needed to take care of the ganglers. But after 10 episodes, I really haven't seen any indication of how this is going to help their loved ones. They work in a cafe part-time, and the rest of the time, at least in theory, they're thieves. My big problem is, you never really see them do any thieving. They're never like doing work or investigation or staking anything out in order to get the looping stuff back. Like every now and then it kind of hints at something like that, but it's like, they should be exploring that. And I know that's easy for me to say from the outside, but I just feel like they're thieves by name only. The ganglers all have safes on them and they break into them, sure, but it's not really thieving, which is what I kind of was hoping to see a little bit more of. They're not sly and they're not like coyly getting in there. They're not smooth. It's just, you fight a monster, you throw a thing, you pop the lock, and you get the looping. That's all there is, and it's just seems shallow. So as awesome as I think their capes are and their transformations are and their outfits and all that are, that's about it. I don't really actually like the Lupinrangers. So looking over into the Pat side, you have Patron 1, Patron 2, Patron 3, who are using pieces of the looping collection as well. They have similarly contrived backstories, but they're mostly inserted facts in place of character development. But they do a little bit of actual investigation and police work, so they're kind of ahead above the Lupinrangers. Honestly, isn't any character on either side that I feel excitement about. They're all really bland and have almost no development. So let's talk about the changers. So the transformation devices on both sides are guns with dials on them. For the Lupinrangers, it works as a safe with a 010, while for the Patrangers, it works as police codes. I love the transformation on both sides as well as the jingle. I definitely prefer the Lupinranger jingle with its little falsetto, Lupinranger, than the Patranger one, but they're both really good. And of course, once they're transformed, it's time to talk about the action. Wooden characters aside, I really like the action sequences of LuPat. Transforming from gunfights to hand-to-hand combat to weapons to mechs, it's fast-moving. It has a lot of really great camera work that puts you right in the middle of the action and makes you feel like you're part of this chaotic battle. The mechas, I'm a little on the fence about. There is a lot of CGI mechas, and at this point, everyone should probably know how I feel about mostly CGI anything. This also brings up the weird juxtaposition that the show has with LuPat. Who gets what mecha and all that? There's a very clear divide between the Lupinrangers and the Patrangers, that the Lupinrangers are the main focus. This doesn't necessarily bother me, it just, whenever it comes to a monster fight, it's like one side gets a giant robot and the others are like, huh, that's something. The Lupinrangers are the first name you have in the title, so I guess it makes sense that they're favored. So in the end, how am I feeling about LuPat 1 through 10? I hate saying this, but bored. I'm bored. The action stuff is great, but if I don't have any connection to the characters to really care about why we're fighting, it's hard for the action to pull me through. The fights are great, but I just don't care if anybody loses this fight. And this isn't like I watched one episode, I watched 10, and in that 10 episodes, nothing's happened. And yeah, there's a few moments of the story advancing, but when I sit back, I just have to be like, yeah, I guess they all have a reason to have a sad backstory and be a thief or a cop. But I don't really know any of these characters. You get a couple cool moments like when Lupin Red and Patron 1 have a longer fight sequence, and you kind of dig into like why you're a cop and I'm fighting against thieves and why you're a thief and I'm fighting for this. But it kind of all rings hollow. The Patrangers want to bring in the Lupinrangers for being vigilantes, but that's not really compelling to me as a viewer. I've never outright hated the show, but I've never finished an episode and then had to immediately start another. It's always just been like, okay, I watched it, it's over now, that's cool. Probably doesn't help in that I'm watching this interchanged with Build, where at the end of every episode, I just can't wait to start the next one. But it's just so bland. The most fun I had was in episode 4 titled An Unacceptable Relationship, where there is a cute stuffed shark in a schoolgirl outfit and anybody who hugs it gets transported to a prison. And Patron Pink breaks her tough exterior to show that she loves kawaii plushes. This is by no means a serious episode, but somehow it's the only episode I've watched that has had any sort of character development, and it's about a stuffed shark. So anyway, that is my first impressions of Lupin vs. Patranger episodes 1 through 10. If you are loving this show and you feel a different way, please reach out and tell me what you're getting out of this show, either comments here, private message, Twitter, whatever it is you communicate through. I'm going to keep watching until at least episode 20, and from there I'm just going to have to make my own judgment call of whether I'm going to continue the show or not. Told after episode 10 it gets a little bit better, so I'm looking forward to that, but we'll see. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time as I continue catching up and somehow always being behind. Thanks, guys.